So I am making this video to show how easy it is to not be able to tell the truth from a lie. Let me take off my glasses because this is very, very particular. Also shut the door because my only other family member is asleep. My mom that is currently asleep. My dad's at work. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to figure out a truth from a lie. Number one. Number two, I'm going to bring it into the modern realm of society where we're all afraid of the coronavirus and other things that cannot typically on a regular basis harm us on a regular basis. So I am going to go through things as is. So I'm going to ask y'all the question before I start the video. Each story I tell, write down in the comments if you think it is a truth or a lie, and I will reveal that at the end of this video. Story number one. While traveling the Alps with my girlfriend at the age of 15, my girlfriend was taken from her hotel room and was stolen and almost sold into slavery by mountaineers that took her from her hotel, took her high up in the Alps until they crossed over the Alps into Berlin and were going to sell her. I caught them at the end on the last mountain of the Alps overlooking Berlin, and they were so drunk that they did not even notice that I was coming in to their tent. I bet them that I could buck one of the sheep that's outside on the mountainside for 5 minutes straight and get my girl and all the money that they had on them, and I bet them that in exchange for my freedom. Is that a truth or is that a lie? I'll let you figure that one out while I go into the second story. The second story, I'm 10 years old. I was on a wonderful cruise ship with my family. The cruise ship tipped over and was about to capsize, and my family and I got onto a lifeboat in the proper time. Unfortunately, the lifeboat was so packed that I wasn't completely inside. I was flung into the sea, and a nearby island saved me while I was floating in the ocean for about a day. The next morning, I start everything that would be done in a survival situation of that type. I would start a fire. I would start creating a shelter. I would start hunting for whatever food was on the island. I find out my way is blocked by a giant 10-foot long shark, a great white, or so it appeared in the ocean, with the only bay that I was able to get out of being blocked by this shark. I went into the water and I wrestled that shark for 6 hours. Ended up killing it, eating it, and then I built a raft out of wood, and a U.S. military ship brought me back home to the U.S. of A. Is that a truth or a lie? And then finally, the last thing that I'm going to tell is I found a thing of pledge wipes from 5 years ago. Barely been used. Most of the pledge wipes have already been dried out. And it has said for 5 years that it prevents 99% of bacteria. And on that 5-year-old bottle of Lysol or Clorox, whichever you typically use for cleaning, because I do have two 5-year-old bottles of both, it says it cleans up the coronavirus. Now, how is the coronavirus transmutable if we already have something that can kill the virus in the first place? Number one, viruses can only be transmuted through blood mutation. Number two, the factual story of people studying bats in the Wuhan province was true at the time the virus started spreading. Number three, we do know that one of the people that were studying the bats sliced their hand. Number four, we do know that bat guano is poisonous and has all types of viral diseases that don't typically affect mankind. Number five, we know that there is a coronavirus cure for animals, but not for humans because it is typically a animal disease. Number six, we know that because somebody cut their hand on the wall while studying bats, that bat guano must have dropped into the blood and started the overall infection that is now affecting the world. Number one, there's nothing to be afraid of but fear itself. We know that. Number two, there is nothing about this virus that is overly fearful. The only way a virus can be a virus is if it is injected into the bloodstream. That's why we have antiviral bodies, is because number one, it's injected in the bloodstream. Number two, vaccines are basically just viruses on basically in a cold state. Flu shots, all that. That is viruses that we use to reduce the amount of viruses in our area. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm going to tell you that the first two stories I told, complete fabrications. I have told those stories to coworkers that believe them to be completely true. Just like they believe that the coronavirus is the end-all, be-all virus of us all as a human species. I'm just saying that if you're gullible enough to believe the first two stories, then you're gullible enough to feel that the last story was a fabrication as well. There is actual proof that shows photographic evidence that the coronavirus has been around longer than the news has been reporting about it. How did it get injected into human beings? Must have gotten injected somehow through the bloodstream in order for it to become something that can be passed on to other people. So, how, if that infection has been passed to somebody that normally cannot get it, a human being can normally not get the coronavirus, how are people now suddenly getting the coronavirus? Because it's being injected into their systems. By whom, for whom, I have no idea. But it's being injected into their systems somehow, some way. The coronavirus, according to the facts, does not affect human beings and has not affected human beings for as long as we were alive, which we roamed with the dinosaurs according to the latest geological studies. We survived the extinction event that killed the dinosaurs. We survived all the different illnesses and diseases afterwards. So, why is this somehow affecting us now when 65 billion years ago that would have been our biggest threat as well? Because why? Number one, we did not have medicine. Number two, we did not have clean water. We did not have clean anything. We were not clean at all. So how did we survive for 65 million years without being clean at all? Only to say for the last 500 years have a completely clean habitat to live in, completely clean air to live in, and then we pollute the air to such an extreme that whoever's in charge of the World Security Council or whatever at the thing is basically allowing test subjects for the coronavirus to instill fear. This virus does not live in the shadows, it lives around us at all times. It's a little bitty bacteria. How is it affecting human beings so much when it has lived among us for thousands of years and just somehow, miraculously, 65 million years after it was living with us with the dinosaurs, it suddenly decides to give us all death warrants? No. The way I think this is happening is the news has lost ways to give fear to the public. A mass shooting will give fear to a public for a while. A child run over by a car will give fear for a while. It does not take a lot to instill fear, but it takes a lot to run away from fear. Not to pay attention to what the media is saying and not to really worry at all. Fear leads to destruction of everything we hold and love that is dear to us. Fear is what keeps us paying our taxes. Fear is what keeps us working for little to no pay while several of us that are just creating masterpieces or just creating wondrous content are becoming millionaires. But just because you can become a millionaire by creating a YouTube video that goes viral or whatever, doesn't mean that you are the smartest one in the room. I've known plenty of smart people, plenty of tough people. I've known plenty of millionaires that know what the truth is versus what is not the truth and can detect truths and lies far better than most normal people. And I can tell you that from what I've stated, we've survived so much. 5 world wars. I'm including wars that have to conquer the entire world, not just World War I and World War II, which were mainly based in Europe. A lot of the world wars were based in Europe and were for power or control. There have been 5 well-defined world wars in history, but we only state 2 wars as world wars. Number 1 world war was the conquering of all the lands that the Roman Empire owned. World War number 2, the rule of Genghis Khan. War number 3, the rule of Alexander the Great. And then World War IV, which was World War I in our history books, and World War V, which was World War II in our history book, which was technically the war to end all wars. And so I'm saying We've survived a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And we will survive this. While it might take a while to fight back, we will survive. It's the way humanity's operated for hundreds of millions of years. You can't survive as a human if you're fearful of every little thing. We are the greatest species on this planet. Given the attitude of Mother Earth, she forced this virus upon us to make us see a better future, a better way, without all these vehicles that chug, 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 chug gasoline, and without all of these planes and stuff in the sky, the air's become a lot cleaner. You can't blame Mother Earth for that. You can think a lot more clearly. You can act a lot more clearly and define on what your goals are. Just pick a goal and go with it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just stating a fact that there are stories that can be told around the campfire that can be complete fabrications. And then there are stories that can be complete truths. I laid out 2 stories that were complete lies and one that was a complete truth. And I held no fault against you if y'all thought all that was truth. Except for the last one. But, I can't change the mind of the world on my own. It is one of those things that you need to be able to detect your own lies and your own truths. This is your host, LegoBrad86, signing off. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day in whatever part of the world you're quarantined.